It took me 15 years of doing yoga before I learned what I'm about to teach you in the next few minutes. Do you want to end up walking like this? Can you not jump on the trampoline anymore since having kids? Are you suffering from low back pain? I've been practicing yoga for 20 years, and it wasn't until the last 5 that the cue, tuck your tailbone, was revealed to me as being very detrimental for our spinal health. When your tailbone is tucked, your spine is not in its natural curves. So the spine is supposed to be curved. And when we tuck our tailbone, we actually make it straight and create less stability between the joints. Let me give you a couple of demonstrations to show how tucking your tailbone affects your breath, affects your stability, and also puts more pressure on your pelvic floor. Tucking your tailbone when you're in a standing position affects the stability of your spine because when you tuck your tailbone under, it changes the natural curves of your spine and straightens it out. But the spine is not supposed to be straight. It's supposed to be in these curves because when it's in these curves, each vertebra has the most contact with the vertebra above and below it. When you have the weight of gravity pressing down on you, you want the most contact between the vertebra for stability. And you probably find it really natural to tuck your tailbone because especially as women, we're taught things like suck in your stomach and wear tight pants and high heels. And those things all bring us into a tucked position, not to mention the amount of times that we sit, drive around in the car, and sit in chairs that do not help us find this natural alignment of our spine. I'm going to invite my friend Sophie to give you a little demonstration on how you can test if you're tucking your tailbone or not. Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
So I'm going to demonstrate on Sophie a little test that I learned from my teacher, Judith Lassiter, and you'll need a buddy for it, but I think that you'll find it quite eye-opening. So Sophie, go ahead and turn this direction. And first we're going to just press down on the back of Sophie's shoulders when she stands as she normally does. All right, I'm going to press down on you now. Okay, so did you notice how Sophie just immediately kind of came backwards in her shoulders? So now we're going to bring her into the proper spinal curve alignment and do the test again. So separate your feet about hip width distance apart, a little closer together. Line up the outer edges of your feet with the outer edges of the mat. So your big toes are slightly together and your heels are slightly apart. Press down into your feet so you're hugging, straighten your legs. Yeah, straighten your legs all the way. Yeah, and then exactly. And then hug your muscles to the bone and pretend that you could like tighten your femurs, your thigh bones into your pelvis by spiraling them behind you. So an inward spiral of your thighs. Still with the straight legs. Yeah. And then bring your shoulders over your hips. So it feels like there's a curve now in your back and like maybe your booty is sticking out a little bit. Let your shoulders relax away from your ears, lift from the crown of your head, continue to press into your feet with straight legs. And now I'm gonna press down again. Amazing, right? She doesn't come back at all. And that's because her spine is now stable. Tucking our tailbone also impacts our breath and the extent to which we can breathe completely. So when our tailbone is tucked, our diaphragm cannot fully expand, that muscle between our rib cage and our abdomen. And think of it like a jellyfish. So it's supposed to, on our exhale, our diaphragm lifts up, and then on our inhale, it flattens as our rib cage expands like an umbrella, 360 degrees. So we really want to get that full expansion, and we just can't do that with a tucked tailbone. So I'm going to bring Sophie back over here and have her experience the difference between breath in a tucked tailbone position and in a natural spinal curvature position. All right, Sophie, I'm gonna have you turn around so that your side is to the camera, and then just sit down like in a cross-legged position. Yeah. And just lift up high, lengthen your spine, and take a deep breath. All right, just notice how that felt. Take another one if you would like. And by the way, lengthen your spine is another way that yoga teachers create sneaky tucking. All right, now I'm gonna have you sit up on this bolster. So you can stay right there. You're just gonna move your seat right up onto the bolster and stay in that cross-legged position. And then let your knees cascade down from your thighs. And then tip your pubic bone forward and down so that you can come into this natural curve of your low spine, lifting the crown of your head skyward. And now take a deep breath. Do you notice the difference? Yeah, you really can, huh? So by staying in the natural curves, she's really able to expand her rib cage and take in as much oxygen as possible. So the other problem with tucking and disturbing the natural curve of our spine is that it has an impact on our pelvic floor. And our pelvic floor health is so important because that allows us to do things when it's healthy, like jump on the trampoline. So when the tailbone is tucked, that's a lot of downward pressure on the pelvic floor. But when we come into the natural curves of our spine, our belly muscles naturally engage and help support those muscles so that the pelvic floor muscles aren't doing all the work of supporting everything that's above it. If you are interested in this topic, there is so much more to learn. So I want to share with you my resources for information. Yoga Myths and Yoga Body by OG American yogi Judith Lassiter. Steps to a Pain-Free Back by Esther Gockiel. Pelvic Liberation by Leslie Howard. And Teach People Not Poses by the incomparable Mary Richards. So we will also be doing another class on the pelvic floor where we get into more detail about that. And I'll be showing you some of the ways that tucking might be affecting your standing yoga postures in other videos as well. Thanks so much for joining me today. Namaste.